Hi, and welcome back to another episode of A Spinner's World. My name is Ashley. I am also known as Spun Too Tight on Ravelry, Instagram, most places on the internet. And this is episode, I want to say 60. I think it's 60. It has been over a month since I recorded last. And it's a crazy long story. I have meant to sit down and record 2 different times over the last month. Now, I knew I was going to miss a week or so because I was going out of town for Christmas, but I missed a lot more than I anticipated. In case you don't follow me on Instagram, we were planning on recording back on the 15th of December. So back on December 15th. And Dory had to cancel. She had some stuff she had to get done around the house, so she canceled, and I thought, well, since she canceled, I'm going to wait and record later on Sunday. This is what happens when Dory cancels. I tell myself that I'm going to postpone the recording till later in the day because I have other stuff to do, you know, family stuff, spend time with the husband and everything else, grading papers. And so Sunday night I found, well, I'll record Monday after work. That happens a lot too. So Sunday night rolls around and I'm not feeling too good. So my husband made me, he's like, you need to stay home from work, you're sick, yada, yada, yada. You coming up there? I have a cat. Here. You ever been visit with the podcast? Sure you are. So, he told me, he's like, you need to stay home, you're sick, So I wrote out my lesson plans for a sub. I got all my stuff together and I figured, well, I'll call off in the morning because, I didn't feel that bad. So I figured, hey, it was fine, I'd be okay. I would convince my husband it wasn't an issue and I'd go to work in the morning. Then I spent all night throwing up. So I called off Sunday night. I was throwing up. I went into the doctor Monday and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. It was not flu, it was not this, it was not that, but it could be pneumonia or bronchitis. They were pretty sure it was bronchitis. Then I got a phone call the next day saying, nope, it's pneumonia. So I literally did not get out of bed for 4 days. I couldn't get up. I could barely walk. When I walked, I coughed. When I coughed, I got yelled at and was forced to take more medication. But, so basically, I've been recovering from pneumonia for the past 2, almost 3 weeks. So, I had pneumonia. The whole week I had pneumonia. And then Sunday was my anniversary with my husband, 1 year. And the following week I went to Ohio to see my parents for Christmas. She finally decided she was going to jump up. And I don't know if you guys have seen Ophelia in a while. Ophi! I know! She's my talker, so. Just gotta make sure she doesn't get into that cup there. That cup, thank you, Mommy will take this. I made coffee over the weekend and apparently some of it was in the bottom of the cup and it's totally moldy, so she needs to not be in that. So, my co-host is here today, but basically it's been forever since I recorded. Sorry. I'm going to try to keep the coughing off the podcast because I'm sure it'll happen again. So, in case you wonder why there's a bunch of rough starts and stops, that's because I cut out the coughing. So basically in the last month since you've seen me, I've gotten some knitting done. I will not lie, when I get sick the knitting just stops completely. But I've had lots of dreams of things I've wanted to do, so. Last time I was here, I will say, one work in progress that I was working on was those Herbaceous socks. I finished the first one and I started the second one and I forgot them downstairs. But I've barely worked on them in the last week or 2, so I'll show you those next time. And last time I was here, I also said, hey, I have this project I have to finish because it's for my sister-in-law's wedding gift. I've worked on that. I actually worked on that quite a bit. If you remember last time, I had 3 columns done. So this is column number 1, column 2, and I was on the very last square right here of column number 3. Well, in the months since you've seen me, I have added 5.5 squares onto the blanket. Technically 6 if you count the fact that I was only halfway done with this 1 square last time I was here, right? So I have added 5 squares. I am taking my good old time to work on this. So, yeah. One thing with the new knit along, my goal this year is to use Stash. And I am one who usually only has 2 or 3 projects on the needles at once. Right now I have so many projects on the needles that I'm running out of needles. That's a problem for me. So you'll see a lot of, you know, finishing here in the new year because I'm not going to deal well with the fact that I have so many projects. The fact that I have so many is actually stressing me out. So that'll be something that we do here in the very near future. Ugh. So that is that. I'm hoping I'm almost done with the first quarter of the blanket. So I'm almost a fourth of the way done. 4.5 squares and I'm done with this section. I have yet to weave in any of the ends, and there is 2 to 4 ends per square. Yeah, it'll get done, promise. Things I did finish, because I actually finished something, can you believe it? So a week or so before Christmas, my husband, you know, said things like, I really would like you to make my grandmother a scarf or a hat or a scarf and hat set. And I said, I don't have time, especially with the blanket I have to make, right? Well, I convinced him a cowl would be okay. And I started this on the 14th of December, right before I was going to record last time. And I got about halfway here done with it before the pneumonia hit and I was literally wiped on my butt. So it's finally finished. I finished it early this week because, well, you know, I finally got it done. I think it was actually Sunday night. And of course, I still have ends to weave in. It's a Christmas gift. Christmas gift. And I can't remember what the needle size was. I think it was like a 10.5. I never measured. I went to my case of needles and picked out something that would look good with the yarn, and that's how I did it. It was a free pattern on Ravelry. It was one where you cast on 120 stitches, like you knit a row, and then, you know, you do these little rows where you do these purls, you yarn over, knit 2 togethers and such. So it's a free pattern. I can't remember what it was called right now. If you're watching this, the name is scrolling across the bottom of the screen, or at least popped up at some point, because I went and found it and looked it up and put it in. Hopefully. It's possible I forget. I watch other podcasts and I know that they forget too. So this is the cowl. It is going to my husband's grandmother. So it is getting put in the mail soon. I figured since I was so late getting it done that it wouldn't hurt to record. Like I said, tonight is Wednesday night. If I did not say that, I'm pretty sure I did not. It is a Wednesday night. I meant to record Sunday, but then, you know, Dory canceled, so I put it off just like a month ago. And then I meant to record Monday, but there was no school Tuesday. Like, it was delayed, you know, so I'm like, oh, I'll wait. And then Tuesday we had this, you know, they cleaned our cafeteria with bleach because of a water leak issue that happened on Monday. And it smelled so bad that I had a migraine. It was like almost vomiting again last night because I was so sick from the bleach all day long. So I didn't record last night. So here I am recording on Wednesday. You'll probably see another episode Sunday. And if not, you know what happened. I probably was lazy and didn't do it again. At least I'm honest, right? So this cowl will be going in the mail ASAP. And the yarn, I don't even know what the yarn is. I want to say it's an acrylic blend. Maybe an acrylic cotton blend. I'm not sure. It was in a box, or it was in a bag that was labeled Mill Ends. And it was with a lot of the acrylic yarn that I used for my knit club at school. I had some extra knit club yarn that was hanging out in my house, and it was easy to wash. I know it's probably machine wash, machine dry, and it'd be perfect for her. Because I didn't want anything too highly variegated, and all of my worsted and like bulky yarn is highly variegated. So this was variegated, but it was in such neutral colors that it wasn't like obnoxious. You know what I mean? I need to get more yarn that is less obnoxious. So that's done, that's out. And that is the only thing I finished. I finished that and one Herbaceous sock. What am I saying? I did not finish Herbaceous socks. I was not working on herbaceous socks. I was working on the Collie Wobbles. Which means I have another work in progress that I forgot I had. I have the herbaceous socks and the needles too. I have way too many works in progress. So, next thing, I've done no spinning. Pneumonia, didn't get out of bed for a few days, you get it. The current KAL. I said at the beginning of the year I wanted to do some sort of goal to use up stash. And I wanted it to be based on yardage, and I did a bunch of brainstorming and I was writing down notes and comparing things and so forth. Excuse me. But what I decided to do, and Dory and I talked about it a lot, and I bumped ideas around some other friends of mine just to see kind of what they thought. But I wanted to start a knit along where you basically knit whatever you really wanted to. But I wanted to find a way, you know, for us to use up stash together. And maybe to have some, you know, goals periodically throughout the entire thing. So I've decided I want to do drawings every 2 months instead of 3 months for this year. So for the KAL, we are going to open up a thread. And you're going to be able to post out everything yardage wise that you've knit or spun this month. So you're going to go ahead and combine them, you know, yards used in 2001. So if I have spun, or if I knit a pair of socks and it's 400 yards, I have knit 400 yards. And all you have to do is keep track of how many yards you do. I'm going to go through and figure out how many like points you'd get, and I'm basically going to take a little slip of paper for each point and throw it into a bag somewhere. Haven't decided where yet. I'll figure that out when that time comes. So, let's say you spin. Maybe you spun a 200 yard skein and it's a single ply. You get 200 yards for your single ply. Let's say you spin 200 yards of a 4-ply. That'd be kind of crazy, right? 200 yards of a 4-ply. You would get 200 yards for each ply. We're not going to count the whole plying together part, but if you have 200 yards of 4 plies, that'd be 800 yards total. So that's kind of how you're going to add it up. So we're not going to go by weight, we're going to go by yardage. And I'm going to do an entry for each 250 yards or so. So if you think about it, a pair of socks is probably going to be 300 to 400 easy. And let's say a hat's 100 yards. You can keep adding your stuff together. So if I knit a pair of socks for 300 yards and another scarf for 200 yards, I have knit a total of 500 yards. So you're going to go ahead, keep track of your yards, list the projects you made, you know, things like that. Whatever you want to list in there. I would like to see the yardage total and the projects. So that way you know, and how many yards are in each project. That way, if I ever feel like I need to go look and, you know, I doubt we'll have any problems, but should we, you know, that's going to be there. So you're going to total up your yardage. For every 250 yards, I will be putting a drawing into a hat. Make sense? Good. And throughout the time, we are going to add like bonus entries for things. My first theme for the first 2 months, because of all of the projects that I haven't finished, is going to be like a work in progress roundup kind of deal. I need to get stuff off my needles. So because I need to get stuff off my needles, I'm going to be selfish and say that we're doing this work in progress thing. Yep. And I have like 3 spinning projects that are on the bobbins, plus I have 1, 2, 3, 5 knitting projects. That's a lot for me. You know, I'm someone who does 1 or 2 projects and I'm done. I don't have a lot of stuff on the needles. I have started spinning before just because I didn't want to cast new stuff on. So this is a big deal for me. So that's what we're going to be doing for the first month. So for every project you finish, you're going to get an extra bonus entry. Just to give you a little bit of incentive to get something done. Now, everyone always wants to know, well, what do we do then if the project's already started? If you have finished something after January 1st, like if you finish it on January 1st, you can count it as something finished this year. Even though I'm not recording this until like the 8th. It's okay. So let's give you an example. I'm knitting a blanket. We're going to pretend that there's 1,000 yards in this blanket. And I finished the blanket in January or February. I finished it. Now sure, I knit a fourth of it before the year started, but because I finished it in these 2 months, I can count all of the yardage. Because it was finished, you can count the yardage. If you're like me, you have a bunch of languishing works in progress. And with all the new knit-alongs starting, you want to knit stuff that counts for knit-alongs. Not things that you're not going to get points for. So, if it's finished in 2014, you get to count it toward your total yardage. So I have 1,000 yards because I finished my blanket. That's worth 4 entries. Plus, because I finished something that was old from last year, I get a bonus entry. So I get 5 tickets into the drawing. And as far as drawing goes and prizes, I'm going to pull stuff from my stash this weekend. See what in there's good. It's going to be some good quality stuff. Maybe stuff that, you know, I'm just not using. I'll pull some good stuff. I like most of my stash. I love everything except the acrylic that lives in a spare box for my yarn club at school. Everything else, I love. So the stuff that I part with is going to be good stuff. And I wish I get a variety for the guys out there that watch, and, you know, the spinners and the knitters and the crocheters and everybody else. So when March comes around, we're going to do a new entry for bonus tickets. So if you finish 10 extra projects in January and February, those extra tickets you got will go away. But your yardage tickets are going to stay. That way they can keep counting for the rest of the year. Make sense? Now, throughout the year, we're going to have projects where there's like, I have plans to do a sweater. At some point, we are going to knit sweaters, y'all. Now, and when we do pattern specific things, we're definitely going to have a knitting project, a crochet project. I'm going to pick one, Dory's going to pick one, and then we'll probably let you guys pick 2 or 3 more. Probably more knitting and at least another crochet. That way there's some variety. So we'll pick different topics throughout the year. We'll do a different one every 2 months just to give you time to find something and think of what you want before you actually get it done. So anything you finish in 2014 that was started in 2013 can be counted for the extra tickets. So you're just going to make one post in the thread and you're going to keep updating it throughout the year. Link to the project page, list the total yardage at the bottom or the top, whichever you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom. Let's all post on the bottom, that way I can find stuff. So you're going to list all the things you made, link to the project page so we can look at them, and then list the total yardage at the bottom. I'll go through there. I'm going to draw names every 2 months. I may draw names during, so make sure that you have, you know, everything organized. Keep on top of things. Don't wait a month like I do to post things in the group. There may be some points there for those early birds that, you know, like to post things throughout. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So that's the goal. Now that I've said that, I'm going to show you all of my works in progress because there are a lot of them. Now, I already showed you the blanket. We talked about my Collie Wobble socks. We talked about Herbaceous. Both of those I left downstairs because I forgot about Herbaceous. I thought Herbaceous would be up here. The fact that it's not means I have no idea where Herbaceous socks are. I'll find them. And maybe finish them. I will not lie, my biggest project of the month will be the blanket. But let's look at everything else I have just in case I decide to work on that. So, my bee half pie, bee leaf shawl, bee leaf half pie. This is Sock Bunny from Sock Bunny Knit and Fits podcast pattern. My biggest regret is not using beads for this. I was knitting it for her knit along. You know, I don't like it because there's no beads. I may actually purchase some beads and rip this thing out and redo it. Do it right, you know? Because why make something that I don't love because I was too lazy to buy beads? Because I wanted to make it for a knit along. I may have to remedy that. So that's one of the works in progress that I have that I can work on. Now I have 2 months, right? Maybe I can get both done. Although February is a short month. I say that I want to get all this done. I mean, I'd love to get all of it done. Let's be honest. I'll have works in progress until like June. I actually started this shawl back when I started that shawl. But this is Cold Mountain. I did this for a knit along with my guild. My knitting guild that meets in Somerville. I'm in like 2 guilds. Plus some knit groups, but They were all knitting this together. I had not been to a guild meeting in like 3 months because couldn't make November. Was sick in December. Hopefully I'll make it in January, right? So this is Cold Mountain. I am almost to the second lace pattern because it's got like 3 different patterns in 3 different sections. So this one's really fun actually. When I get working on this, I love this pattern. So that'll be fun to get back out. Once I get the Garter Blanket of Doom done. So 2 works in progress plus the Blanket of Doom. And like I said, 2 pairs of socks. So I have 5 knitting projects on the needles. And I just remembered a crochet project. I remember 2 crochet projects. I have 2 crochet projects on the hooks that I haven't touched in probably months. One's a snuggle. The other is a blanket I was making for charity. I think I'm going to rip the blanket for charity out because it's ugly. And I'm going to do something else to make it prettier. And the reason the blanket for charity is so ugly is because I used a very highly variegated sparkly yarn because I didn't like it. It was soft enough and it would be good for a blanket, you know, to donate. I didn't like it. It was like yarn barf. And it'd be a lot prettier if I used like a solid color and actually did the pattern. It was a ripple that went from the center out in like a star motion. But the highly variegated, you couldn't see the ripple. It looked like vomit. It was gross. It's still gross. Not that I'm gonna finish it. I will do something else. And let's do oldest first. For my spinning works in progress, I have this. You can tell how old it is by the amount of fuzz that's collected on this yarn. See that fuzz? This is probably all cat hair. Now this is silk. This is like cat hair, y'all. My cat's been rubbing up against this to like scent it or something. Arr, cats. It's a combination of wool and silk and been on bobbins way too long. So this is a merino silk blend. I bought this originally to make shawls for my wedding. So what, October at least of last year? When I still thought I could get 3 shawls spun and knit before December when I got married. This was a project from last summer. And not this past summer, the previous summer before I got married in 2012. I did 2 bobbins of this. I left the other one out in the loft. Spun 2 bobbins, almost 2 bobbins. I mean, it's like lace weight, so I only put so much on there. And then I put it aside because I got bored with it. And I knew I wasn't going to finish before the wedding, so I kind of gave up. Then, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I put more merino silk lace. This may be Polworth. Whatever it is a silk blend, and it is also lace weight. In fact, this is probably a 3-ply. I could probably 3-ply it and it'd still be a lace weight. This is Gail's art, Proud Peacock. Bought at Stitches South this past year, I think. So April of this year? April of last year, 2013. That's what this is from. And then I have the most recent. You may remember, I was going to make socks back in November and October, right? Beginning of October? And then I ended up with a 3-ply lace weight. Yeah. So when I knew I wasn't going to get a sock weight yarn, I put it to the side. And that was when I started the yarn Captain Tight Pants for Collie Wobbles. Didn't finish the yarn in time for the knit-alongs either. I was an epic fail on knit-alongs last year, but I am not going to fail this year. New Year's resolutions, I always say things like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to knit more. My goal is to knit more, my goal is to still lose weight. They are pretty good goals, but I need to focus on them a little bit. Maybe this will be the year. So when I knew I wasn't going to get done for the knit-along, I put this back off to the side too. And I haven't spun since. Now I do, well, other than Captain Tight Pants for Collie Wobbles. So I have these 3 spinning projects to finish. Plus I have 5 projects of knitting, 2 projects of crochet. I've got things to get done these first 2 months of the year. So I have lots of stuff to work on. I'm sure you do too. And I will be doing my best to let you guys know what the future goals and themes are about halfway through the previous month. That way you guys can prepare. That's something I'm super bad at, is getting things done on time. Probably because at work I'm always obsessing over deadlines because I have so much to do. When podcast stuff comes around, I just kind of want to take a break and not obsess over it so much. But I'm gonna work on that. So it is the end of the 9 weeks for grading. I have a week left, which means I have a ton of stuff that I have to get done for work. It's kind of crazy how much I have to get done. So my stack of grading is like this big because I was out with pneumonia. And for Christmas break, I always give a giant packet to my kids. Then they come back and I have to grade the giant packet. I do it every time and I don't know why. So that has pretty much been my month. The majority of it spent in bed with pneumonia or resting to get better with my cough. This is the first day that I haven't coughed all day. And I think I've had to cough about 50 times during this podcast. And I've probably stopped and edited it back together every time I coughed because I took a break every time just to make sure I wouldn't cough. See, just did it again. So that is all for this episode. I will be back Sunday to record. I will not put it off. Even if Dora has to cancel and she can't make it on Sunday, I will record Sunday. Oh, I'm probably going to put a new segment into the podcast as well. One thing I have become completely and utterly obsessed with, you may not be able to tell, is makeup. I got my hair cut after we recorded. Well, the weekend I was going to record and then didn't back in December, 14th. I actually got my hair cut on Saturday and bought a bunch of makeup. And since then I've been doing my hair and makeup every day. My hair's pulled up today because we've been having these cold temps and our hot water's been freezing and stuff, so we've had to keep the pipes clean, but I didn't wash my hair this morning. It's kind of crazy, but I did get my hair cut. It is down to here, and I'm actually wearing it down most days out of the week, but it was not down today. I've actually been doing makeup. Can you tell? The lighting is really lousy in here, but I've been doing eyeliner and all sorts of weird junk. So yeah, I've been a girly girl, and I've gotten some really funny comments at work because I'm being a girly girl. It's been kind of entertaining. So I thought about putting a segment in at some point, maybe some sort of tutorial, some sort of makeup info, or you may just hear hey, I haven't bought any yarn this month, but man, I spent a lot of money on makeup. Maybe I'll show you what I got, put a little segment in at the end. One thing I'm really into that I did a lot last year, I never showed a tutorial or anything, but I showed you all the time, is I painted my nails. I did them again the other night. So, and I was gonna be intelligent and do a tutorial of how I did my manicure. And the way my camera setup is, I don't have a camera for my desktop, a tripod that's desktop sized. And I think I really need one because it was practically impossible to set the camera up in a way that was useful, to where I could see what I was doing with my nails and you could see what I was doing with my nails. I'll see if that footage is any good. If it is, I'll put it at the end. But I have a feeling it's pretty bad. If you have an interest in seeing any of that kind of stuff, let me know. If you don't, feel free to let me know too. If I did it, I'd put it at the end for sure so you don't have to watch it anyways, because I am one who likes to fast forward through segments I don't like. I know you guys are out there too. I know I cannot be alone in that. I hope you all have a great week. I will be recording Sunday, so I will see you then. Thanks for watching, and again, you can find me as Spun Too Tight on Ravelry and Instagram. Instagram is my preferred place of being. Or, no, that's about it. You can find me on Ravelry or Instagram. Feel free to message me any questions you have, and feel free to chat out in our group. Have a great week. Thanks for watching. Bye.